Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. With this, the actual return finally to the Protector Races mini-series, with this being the third race-specific video, and I do have to apologise as this was meant to be out about a week ago, but I forgot to actually have the script with me when I went to record it. The Ijatie, a race that bring war to the foes of Aphalas from the skies above. Skilled in archery and wielders the spear, a race that rarely shy from a fight and have proven to be incorruptible, sharing that with only one other protector race, the Dracons. The Ijatie emerged at the same time as the rest of the protector races, though unlike many of their future allies, they came into being as 5 different groups scattered further across Aphalas than any other. These groups each quickly developed into a role of purpose, though despite all of this, 3 of these groups, the Ijatie, who became the first guardians of the Spire of Calas-tenhir, the Taronvid, who were noted for their amber crests that they became known for, and the Gerenith, who became known for their ruby-coloured talons. Together, these 3 groups that were mostly found around Aphalas formed the old Ijatie realm of Ijatie. The united provinces of the Ijatie formed largely around the area that once bound Arasin and Shah together. Outside of this, the last 2 groups are the more commonly seen across the rest of Aphalas. The Taranir, who emerged on the haven of Losakoth and were largely responsible for the construction of Larrakesh, the city that would become a welcome haven for many throughout all of Aphalas' history and its conflicts. The final group were ones that have the least known about them, though in the early stages they proved some of the most crucial of all Ijatie warriors and the protector races as a whole. The Denarfren formed the Council of Enclaves. The Enclave of the Dunes and the Enclave of Hedomith and Hedo Lake, present on Shah to watch over Nagrasak and his activities, was the last were the Enclave of the Sentinel on Onokrith, to watch over the first demons in their exile. The Ijatie all over Aphalas never hesitated in their beliefs to fight for Amendiel, Galeria, or Aphalas as a whole. Though alongside the dwarfs they would suffer great tragedy during the severing of Arasin, as the land that was shattered saw the Enclave of the Dunes destroyed and the Ijatie divided into 2 successor states, the last sanctuary of Calas-tenhir that then housed the new guardians and protectors of the Spire, and the hidden realm of Eregion that would be located on the south of Arasin. And the Ijatie who then resided there turned their attentions to primarily aiding those upon Arasin, such as the Kirindrek and loyal steppe tribes. Whilst the rest of Aphalas would continue onwards, the Ijatie's main focus in terms of combating Nagrasak then became the protection of Calas-tenhir, as it was not only one of the primary targets of Nagrasak's ambition alongside the Temple of Galeria and Naros and the Oasis of Spirits, but it is also the one that, due to his own location on Shah and that of his allies, was a primary and first-line target, one that would act as a warning beacon if it fell to all the rest of Aphalas of what was coming. The Ijatie, in their efforts to defend the Spire, would develop a great and mutual hatred with the Dark Elves of Steotha, as the Dark Elves themselves would prove to be Nagrasak's most determined servants and would also go to the lengths of having specific soldiers designed specifically for hunting Ijatie, almost like sport. as the battles across the regions of Steerek and Rhaenith would serve as border territories between the two for years, if not centuries, to come. And one of the most notable of these hunters was Rolir, a dark elf hunter who became very well known for displaying captured Ijatie feathers on his armor. Eventually, a great migration would occur with the Taranah, joining the efforts on Shar, though by this point the enclave of Hedonith and Hedo Lake had been long abandoned after the essential betrayal of the ogres, and the lone enclave of the Sentinel on Onokrith had been completely cut off after the forming of the Ruby Mist and was eventually destroyed, though most of the Ijatie would never truly learn the truth of this. The Ijatie would continue to aid throughout Aphalas' time, participating in almost all of the major conflicts to some capacity, including working with their hated foes the Dark Elves in both an effort to sabotage Senetvia's efforts during the crisis of Galakaros, where Tenhir, their current leader and wielder of the bow of Calas-tenhir, would be the one of only 2 survivors in an attempted assassination of Senetvia, and then eventually helping to form a great host of Shar to defend the Spire of Calas-tenhir, and then aid in the final battle that saw Senetvia at last defeated and slain, a battle that Tenhir personally took part in, alongside the likes of Thoronsier of the Wood Elves and several others. After the time of recovery, the Ijatie would then be forced to continue their defences of Shar, and whilst they would succeed in an alliance with the forest dwarves of Alaros, eventually they would become the final defenders of Shar, as when the War of the Dwarves and Elves concluded, the remaining Wood Elves and Forest Dwarves fled from Shar, with the Ijatie purposefully throwing themselves into the conflict to safeguard their defeated allies' escape. Slowly, battle by battle, piece by piece over the years following the disaster of this war and the rise of the Desert Dwarfs, Calas-tenhir would be captured and the last of the Ijatie who had fought would retreat to Lossakoth, as all ability to retreat to Eregion at that point had largely been cut off by the formation of the Agate barrier. Though unknown to many, the Ijatie of Eregion was still in great numbers, having been able to use a largely safe location to become more prosperous, and holding a similar attitude towards the matters of the steppes as the Kirindrik, and as a further front, always keeping an eye to the north against the Ice Elves. This prosperity and focus allowed the Ijatie and the Kirindrik to work well together, more so than the Ijatie were ever able to with the likes of the Trolls, and maybe even to the lengths of those like the Dracons. Though they would inevitably face challenges that varied from anything to the heightened fears of the Ice Elves and what they conjured in the north of Arasim, to Nagrasak's servants, to something as simple as steppe bandits, they were also aware of what was occurring to their south across the lands of Shar, but again, with the raising of the Agate arcane barrier, they were unable to leave in significant numbers to aid. Instead, with the help of the Kirindrek sages and the traders of Garalane, they were able to ferry many of their people from Shar to Eregion when the time came. The Ijatie's story is another one of hardship and duty, sharing a mix in their stories of the dwarves and the trolls. They were a race that were never adept or had any real love for the mystical side of Aphalas, though they worked well with both Dracon and Kirindrek. Their ability to fly and possession of talons gave them some unique advantages when it came to all sorts of both day-to-day tasks and conflict. They were known for having adept senses, especially when it came to their eyesights, being able to naturally see farther than almost any other humanoid race of Aphalas, though by the time of the Defenders of Aphalas trilogy, they were still fighting and still made fierce efforts despite having suffered several critical defeats that weakened them. Though it became quickly known to both Sinevia and Nagrasag that the Ijatie were beyond the ability to be corrupted, though this shocked them as, unlike the Dracons, there was no natural resistance to magic, their inability to be incorrupted largely being driven from their great loyalty to Aphalas and to their allies, something that they did theorize may have been inputted into them by Amendior secretly. Though it also was known that due to the hatred that they and the Dark Elves held for each other, when meeting on the battlefield, both were more likely to kill than capture the other, and due to geography and the presence of where Steotha is located, the Dark Elves were the main sources of foes and resistance for the Ijatie, as most of even the Meader demons were cut off by the presence of the forest dwarfs of Alaros and the forest of Adala. However, it is also apparent that in some of the experiments done to the Meader, Ijatie blood was used as an effort to create almost avian-like demon warriors, though this was only a limited success level, and it was quickly discovered, and the Ijatie would do everything in their power to avoid capture, playing on the chaotic nature of most of the Meader and other demonic forces, or the battle rage of the ogres as ways to navigate around this risk. Even just the severe hatred the Dark Elves held for them would play a factor in all of this as well. And like many other demonic creatures, such as the attempted Scorpio Korith and other beasts of war, these attempted experiments by Sinevia and or Nagrasag were quickly found out and disposed of as rapidly as they could be, as they could not be allowed to be continued in great numbers. The Ijatie are a very interesting case, as they are the only humanoid species on Aphalas that have the ability to fly. They are fierce and strong warriors, and most of their architecture is quite interesting, as it varies from the rest, being more aligned with spire type buildings than anything else. They, even on Erigon, they would become good allies of the Sparrow Hawks and would aid them in various efforts. But yes, they also had their own struggles and everything when it came to facing off against Nagrasag's forces, as eventually it just became them against all of the combined strength of Shah, and whilst the ogres didn't really tend to feature that too prominently in these battles, and the humans of Destinal did what they can to aid, ultimately it was them fighting a losing battle. The next video on this list, I haven't actually quite decided. It is most likely going to probably be the Wood Elves, if not maybe the Trolls. And that is a little down for input, so if anyone has a preference in the comments, please do add them in. I am going to also start looking at some other content when it comes to this, such as going a bit more in detail at the kingdom locations, making it a bit easier to see the different areas on the maps to give viewers a bit more of an idea in terms of how these things look geographically. And so, yes, please, I'll probably do that, maybe breaking down in terms of the different continents. So that could be quite fun and enjoyable to do and spot up on. But for now, that is all. Thank you all very much for listening. Please do comment, like, and subscribe. Please do share with your friends. I do also want to say that please do make sure, if you have the time or even have it just on background, please do listen into the podcast if it's an interest of yours. And please do enjoy. I have noticed, on terms of the viewership, even for a still relatively small channel, that these Protector Races videos have been doing quite well in terms of viewership, I've been getting so far on the channel as a whole. So I want to be able to continue doing these sort of videos, and I do intend to. I may actually do one that breaks down all of the different demonic forces. That could be quite interesting. Anyway, so yes, please, thank you all for listening, and please do follow the channel, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. I am going to try and get into the habit of having more posts on those things, and the Pinterest will get some more artwork up, I do promise. It's just a lot to do. And yes, until next time, welcome to the Kingdom of Aphalas and the worlds of Fellow Mind books. Thank you all for listening, and cheerio.